This is May the 6th, 2024. We have another emergency alert. Please make sure that you are subscribed to our channel. Folks, the news is coming in hot and heavy this morning. The picture that you are looking at, this is the British delegation to Moscow, the British ambassador from the Great Britain or England, whatever you want to call it. They were summoned to Moscow this morning and told directly that if British weapons are used against Russia and Ukraine, then we will bomb your bases inside of Ukraine and outside of Ukraine. You can see the faces of these gentlemen right here, and they are not very happy. Like I said, President Vladimir Putin laid the law down to them this morning. We're not going to tolerate any more interference in NATO in Ukraine. And this, I guess, is the last red line for Russia that David Cameron, their foreign minister, had a speech the other day. We showed you that they said that they gave Ukraine the okay to use British weapons deep inside of Russia. Now Russia has summoned the ambassador to Russia, to Moscow. And let me play this video. I want you to look at their faces, folks. This is the faces, I guess, of the right here, the ambassador. He does not look very happy. But this is going to escalate out of control very, very quickly, folks. Russia is now threatening to use nuclear weapons against NATO forces, and this could escalate out of control very quickly. Let me play that for you one more time. You can see him walking. Like I said, he does not look very happy right here. He was just pulled on the carpet, and the law was laid down to him. We're not going to tolerate your crap anymore. If British weapons are used against Russia, we are going to hit your bases in London, in any other military base that transfers these weapons, folks. And this, like I said, is going to escalate the situation. We also have breaking news that Russian forces right now are engaging regular French and German soldiers in Chavez Yar. NATO forces have now invaded Ukraine, folks. They have been inserted. Russian paratroopers, the Spetsnaz military, is now reporting that they are engaging regular French and German soldiers in the fighting. Let's go ahead and read this article. This has just come in right now. Emergency Russians' ultimatum to Britain: if British weapons hit us, we will bomb you. British ambassador in Moscow was briefed. The escalation now is out of bounds. This is one of the British missiles, the Storm Shadow missile that Britain has been giving Ukraine to bomb the Crimean Bridge and other targets. Russia has now said, if you use these missiles anymore, then every target inside Ukraine and outside, if it is British, will be targeted. The escalation in the Ukraine war toward a direct Russian-NATO confrontation went to another level recently. British Ambassador Nigel Casey in Moscow was told that if Ukraine uses British missiles to attack Russian territory, all British military facilities inside and outside Ukraine will be hit by the Russian armed forces. Let's remember now that Russian territory is apart from Crimea, which joined the Russian Federation in 2014, and the regions of the new Russia, Lugansk, Donetsk, and Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, which joined Russian territory by referendum, regardless of whether the Western countries and their allies do not recognize this. From the look and the style of the British ambassador upon his departure, it seems that specific British targets were given, which will be attacked in basically the BA factories that manufacture the Storm Shadow cruise missiles, but also a series of other weapons will be hit inside of Britain, folks. Inside of Britain. Political observers in Moscow estimate that the government must now be under a lot of pressure from the Russian military leadership to launch attacks on the manufacturing sites of Western weapons with all that this entails. Since now Ukraine with Western weapons are prompting from Western countries and hitting targets inside of Russia, the foreign ministry said Cameron's remarks acknowledged that Britain is now a de facto involved in the conflict with Russia, which contradicts assurances that the long-range weapons it has given Ukraine would not be used against Russia. Casey was warned that in response to the Ukrainian attacks on Russian territory with British weapons, any British military facilities and equipment on Ukrainian soil and abroad could be targeted, the foreign minister said. The Russian ministry points out that it considers Cameron's statements a serious escalation. The ambassador was called upon to contemplate the inevitability, disastrous consequences of such hostile actions from London and immediately refute the aggressive, provocative statements by the head of the Foreign Office in the most decisive and unequivocal way. So this is what has happened. Like I said, folks, the ambassador to Moscow, this guy right here, was called and the law was laid down to him. If your Storm Shadow missiles or any of your other weapons are used to hit Russian territory, then we will bomb your factories. We will bomb other military sites inside Ukraine and also in England, in Great Britain, folks. So this is a major, major escalation going on right now. We just reported this other news. Let me see if I can get it on the screen for you. So many crazy things happening. We just had another article. Let me see if we can stop this now. But this is the other article that we reported on a couple hours ago. Russian paratroopers kill French and German soldiers in Chavas Yar. Signal sent for deployment of NATO forces. NATO forces deployed. French are fierce fighting with the French and Germans. So, folks, it does look like that NATO is being now inserted into Ukraine. This is a major escalation, folks. We do have another article here. Russia now has taken over the town of Krasnohorivka. This is one of the major last settlements. Krasnogorivka has fallen. Donetsk now controlled by the Russians. Post-Soviet Ukraine's heavy industry in Moscow's hands. So all of these breaking news stories coming in. Let me see what else we have, folks. Like I said, there's so much news coming in. It's hard to keep up with it. Let me just go on down here and refresh the screen here. But like I said, this news is coming in hot and heavy this morning. Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Russian army, has occupied 2 more Ukrainian villages. This is the latest from this website here, Pro News. Raphael, Israel has started bombing the Rafah settlement. We also have breaking news. Let me click on this article here. Failed naval drone attacks carried out by the Ukrainian Navy. More and more operations are being carried out against Russian naval infrastructure in the Black Sea. This is one of Ukrainian naval drones they have manufactured. Ukrainian forces attempted to attack the Black Sea Fleet base using 4 unmanned vessels. About 4 a.m., the drones were detected by the Russians, who opened fire on them. The drones were destroyed near the port arms, failing to penetrate the Ukaya Bay. So this is just another breaking news. Let me go back. We're basically doing this live, folks. We're just scanning the articles to want to get you the latest information. This is also breaking news here. President Vladimir Putin has ordered to train the armed forces in the use of tactical nuclear weapons. All of this information is coming out right now, May the 6th, 2024. And I want to let you guys know this is not June. Okay? Overseas in Europe, they put the day first and then the month. They don't do it like we do. We put the month first and then the day. In Europe and other places around the world, on the date, they put the day first and then the month. So this news is coming out today. Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered to train the armed forces in the use of tactical nuclear weapons. Dmitry Medvedev, the sending of troops from Western countries to Ukraine means their entry into the war. That has just happened. We just reported that French and German troops, regular army troops, are now fighting in Chavas Yar in Ukraine. This has crossed Russia's red line, and I do expect some kind of retaliation from Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered exercises, which will include training in the use of tactical nuclear weapons involving troops stationed near Ukraine, the Russian Ministry of Defense announced today. As stated, the exercise will take place in response to threats by Western officials against Moscow. During high schools, a series of measures will be taken to train in the preparation and use of non-strategic nuclear weapons, the Russian ministry said in a statement posted on Telegram. This exercise aims to maintain the level of participation or preparation of the army and ensure Russia's territorial integrity and sovereignty after the provocative statements and threats from some Western officials against the Russian Federation, he added. At the same time as Vladimir Putin a little while ago, the former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev also made similar statements, responding to what has become known about sending of the French soldiers to Ukraine, as well as the provision of long-range missiles by the USA to Kiev. He characterized the Western leaders as a choir of the irresponsible. The number of scoundrels among the Western political elite who are asking to send their troops to a non-existent country is expanding. It now includes the representatives of the U.S. Congress, the French, the British, and individual lunatics from the Baltic countries and Poland. They also call for the active use of their missile weapons, which they supplied to the Banderites, described the Ukrainians as followers of the Nazi Stepan Bandera throughout Russia. And this is not the spring aggravation, but a cynical calculation of political dividends. There is some kind of total degradation of the ruling class in the West. This class really doesn't want to connect logical, elementary things. Sending your troops to the territory of Ukraine will entail the immediate entry of their countries into the war, to which we will have to respond. In that case, none of them will be able to hide either in the capital or in the Elysee Palace, that's the French, or 10 Downing Street. There will be a global catastrophe. So, folks, this is happening right now on May the 6th, 2024. Ukraine now has regular army troops from the French and from Germany. And this is the statement by Dmitry Medvedev. He said, by the way, Kennedy and Khrushchev were able to figure this out more than 60 years ago. But today's kindergartners who have seized power in the West do not want to understand. And that is why today the General Staff began preparations for the exercises, including activities for practical test of preparation and use of non-strategic weapons. They're talking about nuclear weapons. Tactical nuclear weapons, also called non-strategic nuclear weapons, are intended for the battlefield, which they are used to counter large conventional forces such as large infantry and armored formations. They are much smaller in power and range than strategic nuclear weapons such as warheads carried by intercontinental ballistic missiles. The exact division between tactical and strategic nuclear weapons in terms of explosive power does not exist. The power of the atomic bomb used to bomb Hiroshima was about 15 kilotons, which is equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT. A tactical nuclear weapon can have a yield between 0.1 and 50 to 100 kilotons, folks. Strategic nuclear weapons can have a yield equivalent to 100 to 1,000 kilotons. So, folks, this looks like it's going to happen. It does look like that NATO is provoking Russia. Like I said, the leaders that we have in Washington, the leaders that we have in France and in Britain and in Germany are psychopaths. They are suicidal, folks. They are leading us headlong into a nuclear war with Russia. They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. All they care about is defeating President Vladimir Putin, no matter what it takes, folks, even if they have to drag us into a nuclear war. This is the breaking news, folks.